There will be some growing pains, but they've got so many players on that roster. They've got good receivers, young and inexperienced, but they're good receivers. Dean Legge from Dog Post is going to bring in Matt DeBary to talk about Georgia's receivers. Matt, listen, these guys have the capability of changing the season for the Dogs in 2020. They have young guys. They also come back with Dominique Blaylock and George Pickens, perhaps the best receiver in the SEC, perhaps. They have some real firepower on the outside for the first time in a while.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to forget about the guys like Matt Landers and Demetrius Robertson. There is some veteran leadership, if you want to call it that, in this group. But this young 2020 group of receivers coming in, this freshman group is talented. You've got size, you've got speed, you've got athleticism. This group really does check all the boxes, and I expect at least two of those guys to play meaningful snaps. But George Pickens is going to be the guy. You've got Kyrus Jackson looking to have a breakout year. Tommy Bush, a guy I really liked out of high school, 6'4", really good speed on the outside. We haven't seen any of him. Is he a guy who could step up? So you've got your big guy. You've got your superstar, George Pickens, on one side. You can count on him. Is one of the veterans going to step up, or is this freshman group going to really impress and maybe play more guys than we expect to? I think that's going to be the big question. But
what about in the slot? I mean, that's the one thing that you could really bother teams with. If you've got a slot guy and you've got a guy on the opposite, like George Pickens, you've got a slot guy. That guy can open other things up too, because you got to always deal with them.
Yeah, Kyrus Jackson, I think, could play that slot. You need a guy who can get open against a linebacker in the middle of the field on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, something like that, and I think he can do that. Dominique Blaylock can play that position. You need a route runner there, a guy who can create quick separation early in the play. Kyrus Jackson could do that. Dom Blaylock can do that. Ladd McConkey, I think he could be a weapon there. Maybe not this year, but at some point, he's a guy who knows how to create separation. That's one of the biggest reasons he got that Georgia offer. So, again, he's a gadget guy, and that's where he goes. So there's plenty of guys there who could play that role. You could put a guy like Arian Smith there, put him on a screen. There's a lot you can do with this group of guys, especially in Todd Monken's offense.
The issue now, though, is that they have – it's not an issue. It's something that they planned for. They have options now. They did not really have as many options last year. And then by the end of the season, you had Pickens out for half the SEC game because of the championship game because of the fight. Blaylock gets hurt. You had guys, let's just face it, like Tyler Simmons isn't scaring anybody. He's a really good blocker, but he's not frightening anybody down the field. Burton, who you've not even talked about, is a guy that could turn some heads this season.
He was the fastest guy at the Under Armour camp that I saw. Again, he's played against great competition at IMG, Calabasas, Hapeville. He's produced everywhere he's been. So he's got the speed, but it's his body control, the ability to go up and snatch the ball out of the air, the ball skills. I don't want to put him on A.J. Green's level like that, but his ability to contort his body and make a great play on the sidelines or just up in the air, he can go up and get it. There's a lot to like about his game.
These guys can play right now.
Yeah.
That's the difference, with them. They're not like, Zamir White was a very good player coming out of high school. Then he got injured twice before we saw him in college. These guys have stayed healthy that we know of so far. I think that's the one thing that could separate Georgia from what it was last year. I mean, obviously you have a different quarterback, no question, that matters. But George Pickens was there the entire year, man. Same thing with Demetrius, same thing with Blaylock. And they just without number 15, whose name escapes me.
Cager.
Yeah, without Lawrence Cager, they were lost. And George Pickens should be a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, but again, they need that second guy. 2 years ago, Jake Fromm had Jeremiah Holloman. Last year, he had Cager for a while, who was really his go-to.
Yep.
But who is going to step up there? I think that spot is open. But
I think the go-to guy now has got to be Pickens. Pickens is as scary as it gets. Ask Baylor.
Yeah.
Look at all these teams. They're worried about Pickens, and they should be. You win big-time games and championships with players that guys can't defend.
He could break the Terrence Edwards record. He's good enough to do so.
In 3 years?
Well, just 1,000 yards in a season. I think in this type of offense, he definitely could do that. But he could break some records while at Georgia.
I wonder with George how much, because I remember talking to him after the Sugar Bowl, being up on the pedestal, and it was still sort of like he was growing into what he was going to become. And, Fromm was up there with him, Kirby was up there with him, and they, when I asked him a question, that was kind of a leading question, I guess you could think. But they didn't want him they wanted him to calm down and settle and answer the question like not in a nutball kind of way.
Yeah.
I think he's only now coming into, hey, I can be a superstar. And I think once you realize that, everything can change for you.
He was a talented puppy last year. He was just getting in there. He was doing all that. I mean, I do think he can come into his own and take that next level and add a leadership role to his game, possibly. I think the staff would love that, but it's hard to say. Can't remember the last time George has been deep at wide receiver. They've always had a couple guys stand
like
out.
2012, maybe
2012. Yeah,
were they deep at 2012?
It's crazy. That sounds 8 years ago, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the deepest they've been, it seems. But again, you got a monster like Pickens. You got a guy like Blaylock who, when healthy, could be another superstar type. You've got possible guys, Demetrius Robertson,
Demetrius got step
Landers.
up, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
like,
and if he does, this offense could really boom. If he or Landers takes that next step, this offense could really shine the way it should. And then you've got all the young freshmen who could all make an impact at some point in their career. So it's a deeper group than people realize.
All right, let's get you ready for the 2020 season. Click right here for our playlist about what's coming. Here sooner than later. We'd appreciate it if you check it out. We'll see you over on that playlist. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan.